I'm sorry.
Ed didn't come here. Ed didn't come here. Christmas party.
I was in Hawaii.
I didn't go.
He was on his own.
All right, so I told the audience it's almost 40 years since we were in production, right? Almost.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, since we started, right? We've been done now, what, like 29, 1987, right? I can't do the math. Yeah, so the question I have is, you've been asked to do these reunions over the years, and they never came together. Why now?
We have one.
We're all about to die. Actually,
Not wrong.
we've been asked to do reboots. I don't think we've ever been asked to do this particular thing, have we? I think it was a reunion.
I don't think so.
Reboot. Like, can't you do some more Bundy shows? Can't you do some more? You know, we all say maybe.
So let me ask you this. All the time, and when we shot the show at Sunset Hour, the audience was just crazy with energy. For you to have all that time pass and come out and see this sea of energy, what's that like to be reminded of this audience? Brings you right back to Sunset Hour. I mean, it's the same exact energy, right? Sounds the same.
I think it's great. I think it's absolutely wonderful that people are still enjoying it, still laughing, still visiting it, watching it. It's great.
So, to that end, let me ask you, why do you think the show resonates so well with so many people for so long? Why does the show resonate with you?
Well, it was funny. I mean, I heard Jackie Gleason say that years ago when he did the Honeymooners, and they said, "Why do you think the show is successful?" He said, "It's funny." And I felt the same way about our show. A lot of people would have to remember Hollywood. But it was, oh no! It's a microphone. We stirred up a lot of people. They didn't think they couldn't imagine a show that like ours, but it was really funny. And I always thought that.
They kept trying to make it political. They kept trying to ask us questions like, is this your point of view? Or, it's so misogynistic, it's so this, it's so that, and, trying to make it some kind of political conversation. And our response was always, it's just funny.
We had this brilliant show in the 70s called All in the Family. And where broken people were the heroes of the show, right? And then we went into a different realm on television with, all the nice families. Yes. And our show was originally called Not the Cosbys.
True story.
Now, after this, we kind of feel that's kind of a good thing. But it was Ron and Michael's dream of, they were told that they couldn't write white. It was like a weird thing, remember that? Okay, yeah, it was a whole thing. And they were like, you know what we're gonna do? Something completely opposite. And they did this thing that was
I remember getting kind of also thinking, oh, this will never, ever get made.
Oh, no.
I thought it was hysterically funny, but I thought, oh, this will never,
So-
nobody's gonna do this.
I turned it down.
I want to ask about that. Ed, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, I was playing handball at the Hollywood Y. I was out from New York for a pilot that was not going to go anywhere. And they said they have this show called Married with Children.
Not the Cosmos.
Well,
I'm just gonna keep
and
reminding
I said, that's a terrible title. And was it any good? They said, no, it's terrible. I said, well, why are you talking to me then? And they said, well, they want to see it over at Sunset Gower, which was right down the street from Hollywood Y. And so I went over there, right?
Your gym clothes?
Yeah, probably. I showered, but I had the bag, and if you know handball, I had like 15 pair of gloves that were wet hanging from the bag, you know, to keep dry. So I went in, and the two producers, Ron and Michael, were in there, and they were playing darts, chain smoking, and they were eating ding dongs. And I thought, man, this show is, you know, and I read it, and I thought, this is going to be, if it ever goes, it'll be canceled after one or two. But it was getting around Christmas, and I thought, well, if I can get it, I'll do it. It'll be gone. No one will see it. And, long story short, 11 years later,
He met me, and that was it, right?
I'll tell you a thing that I just found out very recently, and I don't know what, less than a year ago. One of our producers, writers, I think you're here, Richard Gurman.
Richard Gurman. Richard, where are you?
He wrote a book.
Okay.
About his.
There he is.
Hey, Richard.
Richard was there from the very beginning.
It was
all the way to the bitter end.
It was called Married with Children Against the World, right? So when he sent me a copy, and I thought, well, you know, it'll be a nice trip through memory lane. You know, I like reading about the show 11 years ago. But what I didn't know was what went down before we cast. So they didn't know me from Adam. I was in New York. I was a stage actor. I wasn't a comedian. I wasn't known for comedy. So they took a shot. They were desperate. They didn't have anybody for the Bundy part. And I did some crazy audition, and they liked it, the two producers. And so they wanted to hire me. Now, Barry Diller, who was Murdoch's right-hand man and henchman, right? He came over for the final audition. And Katy and I, you guys, you weren't there.
We were there.
We came in later.
We replaced 2 other kids.
That's another story. But we had 2 other kids at the time.
They did.
So,
one of which was my nemesis.
so Diller, so after the audition, they said, okay, we all left. And they said, well, what do you think? And Diller said, well, we like everybody, but, and you got the girl. You got Peg. But you do a hell for the guy. So they said, well, we're shooting next week. And he said, well, do what you want. But I don't like it. So, now I didn't know anything. So, of course, he went back to his office at Fox. Garth Anseer was there. What'd you think? What'd you do? He said, well, he said, do what you want. So, he said, what'd you do with O'Neill? Did you rid of him? And they said, no, we hired him. I said, what the fuck did you hire him? I told you I didn't like him. They said, well, you said we could do what we want. He said, I didn't mean it. So the next day, he called and said, here's how it's going, guys. Right now, it's 12 shows and a pilot. It's now just a pilot. If you keep O'Neill. And they didn't tell me. Of course they didn't tell me. I knew. We shot the pilot. They kept me. What are the odds they'd even keep me?
You were the best.
The thing that blows my mind is you had no background in comedy.
No, I didn't. That's why I don't blame them. In a way, I don't blame them.
We all came from the theater.
No, but here's the thing. This is the end of the story. We did fine in the pilot, and it went on, and we were picked up, and everything worked out okay. like these guys, because they took the kids out. They were
Kids let to go. Much better kids.
and I
With much better parents.
But I told people this, I told this story, I said, you know, had I known what they pulled on me and on everybody, I probably would have said, you know, I'm not doing it. Go find someone else. No. Now here's what I would have found another way to make a living that's a little more human, a little more, you know, maybe like the mafia.
I have to contradict this story because I mean, that might be true, but when we auditioned, when Ed and I were there were 3 guys and 3 girls, and then what they do is they match you up. And when Ed and I walked in the room together, I mean, I knew right away you were extremely funny. Extremely funny. And chemistry between the 2 of us, I mean, and I was kind of new to this whole thing. I come from the music world. I had kind of no idea what was going on. But I just knew the chemistry between the 2 of us worked. And with all the other guys I read with, I don't know, you read with a couple other women, it didn't work, right? Yeah, it just does. So I think that's, very different.
What did you guys think of the material? All right, the material was so controversial. It was kind of over the top. It was big, broad, and you're reading it. What was your reaction to seeing the material the first time?
I thought it was fun, but then I also
thought it was offensive.
Yeah, well, that's funny.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines that I've ever heard in my entire life is, "What are you thinking, Al? If I wanted you to know it, talking." Those are the things that make me so happy.
When did you guys know that you were on a runaway train? That this thing was just going to blow up? What point did you know?
I don't think we ever knew.
I remember remember they used to send us out on these promotional tours, and Ed and I would be sitting on the back of like
It was
a
hilarious.
Chevy, like in a local town parade.
No one would be coming to the
No one
table.
would be coming to the thing, and we were just like, "What's happening?" But then all of a sudden, I do remember one time we went to a mall.
Well, it was
We
an
got
You got chased like the Beatles.
That was crazy, but that was after we had hit. But the first 3 years were slow. And then the woman, you know, Terry Ricotta,
This is a woman from what state? Where was she from?
from Michigan.
Yeah, and this is the woman that complained about the show and made this incredible, stink about how wrong the show was. And what she didn't, she didn't know. The whole thing backfired, and that's when Married with Children really started to get people.
Well, she successfully was able to pull Coca-Cola, McDonald's, big sponsors from the show, and it made the press. Everybody wanted to know,
Covered the New York Times.
yes, they wanted to know, what should we not be watching? What is this thing telling us not to watch?
And of course, once they said that, everybody had to go watch it.
We send her flowers every year.
And Hustler,
Clearly pissed her off.
and as a side note, Hustler magazine gave her asshole of the month.
Let me ask you this: the characters that you guys embody, right? Did you draw on anybody that you knew? Where did the whole concept of Al and Peggy come?
Me, it was written, I'll just say my interpretation. When I got the script, she was written as very slovenly, didn't take care of herself, just kind of like a couch potato. And I read the script and I thought, well, these people have been married forever. They must have something going on. And, so I thought there must be some hot, sexy thing going on somewhere. And I didn't want to play a couch potato, so I kind of showed up. I showed up all dolled up. I wore like my dress. I put my hair on my head and I wore glasses. And I just walked around, I just wanted her to be hot. It wasn't exactly what they wrote. interpretation, and so, you know, because they were so mean and nasty to each other, I thought, well, we gotta have something going on to stay together for all this long.
What about you, Christina?
Okay, so originally Kelly was written kind of like this like biker chick. You know, like you watch like the first season, she's like, you know, she's got these clothes and whatever it was. And I went and watched this movie called Decline of the Western Civilization, The And there was a girl in there that had just won Miss Gazzari's. If you guys, you're all very young, you don't understand what Gazzari's was. It was like a medal, I don't know. And she's in this like tight, no, like a metal glove, and she had like a white, you know, latex lycra thing on, and she won. And they asked her what she wanted to do next, and she said, "I want to continue with my modeling and my actressing." And it was like literally, I got out of the Dome Theater, that's where I was watching it. And I was a punk kid. I was like such a punk kid, so just. And I went to the wardrobe and I said, let's go to Melrose. We're gonna get some freaking dresses that are horrible and latexy and awful. And that's where she was birthed. She was birthed. She was part of the zeitgeist that was happening at that time with like the music and like the videos and these girls like slashing their hair and stuff. And I just thought it was so mesmerizing to me. So I was like, let's go there. So that's who she was. Not who I was, guys. They all knew who I was.
For me, I was just 12 years old and I wanted to be on a series. I wanted to be on a fucking show. I had done like Fantasy Island, Loco, Family Ties, and all these little things. Like one, like guest spot here, guest spot there. And I desperately wanted a series. Even at 12 years old, I don't know, it's just something I dreamed of. So I would, pray at night for a series. And then here came this 11-year run. So, but as it took off, quite honestly, Ed was a huge inspiration for Bundy. What does your dad do? You automatically become your dad at some point, right? So I just started taking on a lot. I learned on that set. I had no idea what I was doing. In the first few years, I watched the show, and I'm scared to look out at the fourth wall. My eyes were kind of projected down. And as I start to, like, the third or fourth season, I start to, hey, okay, there's a fucking world out here. There's a life. I can look out there. But I was very scared. But I started taking notes from this guy.
All right. Let me ask you, when you were doing these shows, you know that Married was going to pave the way for other shows? I mean, animation and live action, shows like, even The Simpsons and Roseanne. I mean, were you aware that you were kind of blazing a trail?
We were like the black sheep.
After they stole everything from us.
They stole, yeah. We were there. But we were on the Fox Network when the Fox Network was not really a network. You had to have like rabbit ears on top of your get it. And I think one of the reasons, they played us 3 times a night. It wouldn't go away. So
I think our first night was it was us that first night in 1985.
7.
4 or 6.
And was it at 21 Jump Street, or was it?
no, it was.
Was it Jump Street? It was
Tracy Scott.
Oh.
Tracy Ullman.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Later.
All right.
I think it was Tracy Ullman.
We don't know, guys.
Never mind.
Google it.
Do you guys watch the show in syndication? I mean, it's always on. Just flip the channels. You guys watch it?
If it's on, I don't turn the channel.
Really?
I just know I'm getting like $2 for that.
I have a lot of favorite episodes, so if I see it on, if I'm channel surfing, I'll say, oh, I like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
No,
What is your favorite episode?
No, sometimes I laugh out loud.
Well, I like the Christmas episode when
We all
Santa.
love
Christmas
Santa.
And we were just laughing on that
Because it was
couch.
so dumb.
It's the only
Santa
show.
just dying behind us, and this fucker just like laughing.
It's the only show. the only show I broke.
Oh yeah.
I broke. I start laughing.
You can see him if you really watch it slowly because they have to keep bringing that thing up on the hooks because every time they would drop it.
We're talking about the dummy Santa Claus.
The big Santa was like a 200-pound dummy.
Yeah.
And it was on hooks. And they released that thing. You can hear it release too. Go, you know, and we knew it was coming and we would just start breaking everything.
And it's just like staring forward, and he's just like.
And Ed's like a seasoned pro, but you can see, if you watch it, so you can see briefly kind of look at the camera to see if the camera's looking at him type thing. It's like, you know, it's like acting 101, you know, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Good be straight.
That was fun.
What about the guest stars, right? And then Christmas, that was Sam Kinison, I think, right? So,
He was the greatest. Sam was the greatest.
yeah.
Remember he brought us belly dancers for lunch?
Yeah, because he was late every day.
He was late, and he brought us belly dancers, and he brought us billy clubs. Remember we had those?
He bought us blackjacks.
Blackjacks, whatever they're
You
called.
know, saps.
He missed like 2 days of work, just didn't show up. Yeah. He literally just didn't show up.
He got Dave a hooker.
Not true, but he had a big heart. I happened to be at his house on my real dad's birthday. I happened to be at his house. My dad was a huge Sam Kinison fan, like his favorite, and he called my dad and did like his bit, like, "Oh, Roger, happy fucking birthday!"
You were just at Sam Kinison's house.
Yeah.
All right. Any other guest stars?
Pam Anderson.
Yeah.
I think
Pam
was one of
Anderson. Anybody? Any other stories, anecdotes with working with some of those people?
None we can talk.
Terry Bradshaw!
What
King Kong
about?
Bundy. Chris.
Hey, how are we going to do this, Ben or David? With there's people in the audience. We have questions. They want to have. This is. I told them that this show has always been about the fans. You guys have always been about them. So tonight, I thought if you had any questions or you want to.
Tracy Lords.
What's that? Spill it.
She's actually my friend still.
She was actually really good in that episode.
And she's a great human being, so.
Yeah, she was.
Follow her on Instagram or whatever, but she's wonderful.
When you're approached by people, right? You've done so many other things in your career. Where you're approached by people, do they still want to get into the Bundys? I want to talk about married with children.
Yes. I want to say that we've all gone on and done some other things as well. So there's conversation about those other things as well. But the other things. But yes, I get a lot of questions about it still. Absolutely. Or people will say, this is the most endearing thing. Now, because y'all are young, people will come up to me and say, you know, my dad has passed on, and our favorite show is your show. And we watched it every single day.
All the time you hear that.
Those are the kind of comments where you just realize, oh, you've made an impact in a bigger way than you realize. That, you know, it's brought people, you know, you're sitting around. Television used to be a very communal experience. I don't know with streaming if it still is. But it used to be like once a week you'd all get together and watch something. And, you know, which is kind of sad that we don't still do that. But those are the kind of comments that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I have people coming up all the time saying, you know, my family and I, we didn't get along, or we didn't talk, we had issues, and we'd sit down on Sunday nights for a half hour, and we would laugh for a half hour straight together, and it's some of their fondest memories. So
I was going to say, some of the funniest things that I experienced doing the show was the rehearsals. We rehearsed in these shows, but I mean, there were so many that were so funny that we would laugh so hard we'd fall down on the ground. It was like,
Well, Ed would come back from lunch every day and tell us what he ate.
for a good 30 minutes, what do you
How
eat?
was lunch, Ed?
So, well, that's not funny, but
And every story about Youngstown, Ohio that you could possibly imagine, and you still do that, my love, on the phone. Just so you guys know, Eddie and I talk on the phone once a week for probably about 2 hours on the phone.
You're never gonna.
How's Married with Children? You got one on Modern Family and other work that you guys have done. This 11 years, right? 11 years of Married with Children. How does this, stack up in terms of the body of work that you've done? What do you think of when you think of this segment of your life, this 11 years?
I'm gonna say I grew up there.
Yeah.
Dave and I grew up there, and these were our parents. And I always say, if you like us, it's their fault. If you don't like us, it's their fault. And I feel like it's where we learned what we do. And I was like all serious actor, bullshit, asshole. And I learned comedy from this group of people because they were so absurd and bizarre. And it was beautiful. And I am forever indebted to this group of people, and I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Married with Children. And I'm this is my family. This is actually my family. The people that I've worked with are my work companions, but this is my family.
My experience is when I've done other projects, you're with these people day and night for however long it is, a few months, and you become super close. And you really think those friendships are gonna last. And sometimes they do, but more times than not, you kind of go on to your next life and you go on with your regular family and friends. But this is very rare that we've been this close this long. And
Yeah.
It's not bullshit, guys. Like, we literally talk. I swear, like, we talk on a text chain.
Yeah.
Like every week.
And it's very gossipy too. You can't say anything.
No, you can't tell
anything.
He's gonna tell this one.
Oh yeah.
It's the best way to get information passed around is tell Ed and say, don't tell anybody.
I feel very similar to Christina in that it was my first big job as an actor, and I have never really done that before. And I learned so much, not just from Ed, but from the kids. Christina had worked way more than I had, or maybe Ed had too. So the comic timing when you have a group of people, it is a collective sort of thing. Everybody works off each other and learns from each other. I learned an enormous amount watching all three of you do what you do.
Well, that's true. I mean, we all learn off each other. It's an ensemble show, so it was so much fun to do it. It was like when we get really rolling out there, it would be like.
Testament to the writing too.
I was just gonna say, I want to bring up Richard German again. His whole team,
Richard German.
And Larry Jacobson is also here. He was a writer on the show.
It's one of the writers and producers.
If you think about the lines on that show, if you think about how brilliantly they're written, there's just some hilarious lines that they wrote for us. They pitched us a perfect pitch, and he tried to knock it out.
I heard Richard talking on a podcast, and he was saying that Ron and Michael had this way of channeling dialogue, that they would kind of get a setup, and then these guys would almost spit out what wound up on the page. So, Richard, make your way down here, because I want to talk to you about the writing part. Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard German.
Someone of the cast is here tonight.
House light so we can see. Richard, Ben, can you put a light? Richard, I'm gonna get Richard German, ladies and gentlemen. Come on.
Richard?
Hi, guys. I was thinking, as dysfunctional a family as you guys was great. When you weren't playing your characters, you were me, and a very functional family. I mean, David would tell me stuff about how Ed coached him. I mean, Ed was to David like Bud would have wanted Al to be. And especially, and Christina, also Katy, there's a show that, to me, an episode that showed the father-son bond, and I know you're very attached to it. Maybe you can talk about it.
Is that?
It's a show when you turned 18 years old.
It was a fun couple weeks on set. I mean, and we got to get into a bar fight and break, sugar glass bottles over people's heads. And, I mean, it was great.
It was a rite of passage show.
Hey, just to give you guys a sense of the rhythm of the show, right? How it started and then when we shot on Friday. Richard, would you just talk to the audience about the production week, just kind of the evolution of the show from reading the pilot at a table read to shooting?
Like on Monday morning, or sometimes Wednesday, Tuesday, but let's say it was a Monday.
Richard, we can't hear you. Just raise the mic up a little bit.
Monday morning, shoot. On Monday morning, we would all come in and we would sit in a rehearsal hall. No sets, just the actors around the table, and they would just read the script, just cold. I mean, they may have gotten it a few days before, but they were reading it cold, and we were listening for, whether the jokes, they worked in our head, and they worked what we thought on the page, but we didn't know whether they were really going to work, until these guys, and not just the jokes, but the story. So they would read the script, and then afterwards, we'd get comments from them about, and we would get comments from the network, and we get comments from the studio. Although Ron and Michael, who created this show, had a deal where they didn't, such an unusual deal, where they didn't have to take the notes. And there were very few notes that they had to take, which they did occasionally, but they basically didn't have to take the notes. But we had our own notes because we wanted the show to be better. So they would go off and rehearse, and we would go back to our office, and we would rewrite up until, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. We would do a rewrite. If the script was in good shape, we'd get out of there in a couple of hours. The next day, they would start rehearsing, and we'd be working on the script for the week after or the week after. And then it wasn't until Wednesday that we would have a run-through. So we would go down to the stage in the sets, and they had been working with the director, and they would run through each scene. Now, each scene, after each scene, then Ron and Michael and me and Larry and the other writers would sit around and discuss the scene, and they were so true to the written word. They would do everything as we wrote it, but after each scene, they'd say, we found something that we really liked within this that wasn't exactly in the script. And then they'd show us, and we'd be totally open to making those changes because we didn't care where the funny came from as long as we got funny. You guys were living with it. So, we brought the writing to you, but you made it come alive to us.
And the thing about those table reads and the run-throughs is if you love the line, say there was a line that I had that I was in love with. If you said that line wrong one time and it fell flat, it was getting cut. And not because they thought you were doing something wrong with it, just because they thought, well, we didn't write something that was funny. And if you loved it, you had to say, wait, man, Richard, I really screwed that up. Can you just throw it out one more? Let me have one more shot at that joke.
Yeah. There was definitely a back and forth.
But it was vaudeville. What we were doing was vaudeville. It's vaudeville.
Yeah.
So everything you're doing is dependent on the reaction of the audience. It's vaudeville.
Right.
You gotta have a little relationship that.
And what
if they don't like you, they're gonna start throwing tomatoes, man.
And to that end, I just talked about Christina, the audiences that we had, right? I mean, that was my job. I worked with the audiences, and typically they bring in a warm-up just to kind of make sure the crowd's good, you're in a good mood, everybody's happy, the energy, and there's microphones above your head recording your laughter. And when you go after the show, you have to go and sweeten it. Married with Children never have to sweeten it. Never have to add fake laughter.
People always say that we have a laugh track.
No, we didn't. We have to.
Sometimes we had to take laughs out because the show was too long.
Yeah, we have to make people leave. I had one guy chain himself to the bars one time. I don't know if that's funny, but it's just like no, they were there, like they were hooting and hollering, and I remember Eddie like stopping one time and going, "Can you guys just shut the fuck up?" Trying to get from one joke to the next, and they were just hooting and being nuts, and they were all drunk, by the way. They were
the Marines from Camp Pendleton, they were drinking on the bus.
Hockey players came.
No offense, God bless you for your service, but please don't come drunk. It was crazy, you guys, but that's what it was. It was like we really had to like have this relationship with our audiences, and what we were talking about like us being very specific, with the dialogue, and it was very specific. Like the T's had to be crossed and the is's and the N's and the stuff. It really screwed me up for when I had to go do improv on all these fucking movies where these guys were like, make it up! I'm like, I don't want to make it up. I just want what you wrote. Like, just give me what you wrote. I'd like that.
No, I was just going to say that the audiences were, it was, now when you go to see a multicam shot, there's metal detectors, they're inspecting you like you're going on an airplane, there's a whole thing. When we were working, there was none of that. Like anybody could get in. And anybody did. And I remember at a certain point, particularly Christina, but I think I did, I'm not sure if you guys did, we would have escorts to take us home. People to follow us, because it really brought on quite an eccentric audience. I mean, I would get tons of mail from prisoners who wanted to know about my shoes. If you sent me pictures of your feet.
Richard Ramirez actually sent me a letter. This is not a joke. Richard Ramirez sent a picture of him in an electric chair that he drew with a bubble above his head going, I love you, Kelly Blue.
True story. I was walking in Hollywood once at night, late at night. I was with a girl on a date, and I was coming in the city section of Hollywood, and these dudes put a gun to my head, like cold steel to my head. And they had no idea who I was yet, and they were gonna rob me, and they recognized me, and they didn't rob me. Bundy.
All right, let's turn it around to you guys. Richard, how about I have Richard?
Thank you, Richard.
Richard broke the microphone, so. But if you, it's kind of awkward because I'm here with the microphone. Yeah, if you have a question, yes, sir. I'll try and help you. The man right here with his hand up. What is your question, sir?
What's your favorite insult line, and how did you decide to do it that way when you did it?
Good question. Your favorite insult line, and was there anything that helped you say it a certain way?
You talking to me? I had so many. Well, that was funny. There was one that I thought was horrible. I mean, for one thing, I have to tell you, I never really liked making fun of women's weight. Not be aware of was that I could never pick on anyone in the store. They had to pick on me, and then I would retaliate. That's how it worked. But that it never really worked, but it sort of worked. But I had one scene where a woman was upset with me, and she said, I made a crack, and she said, you'll be hearing from my attorneys. I said, would that be the firm of Hagen and So it was fun.
Can I interrupt for a second? Because there's one line that never made it to air. Because Fox was like, oh, we can't do that. So, Al was sitting there with a neighbor dude. Sorry, I'm so old. Steve. And he goes, you know what?
Thank God so long.
Wait, hold on. He goes, you know what PMS stands for? Pummel men's scrotums. And you're welcome.
Someone reminded me the other day, they said, what is the Grandmaster, what does the B in Grandmaster B stand for? They said, no, it's brother of an idiot.
I saw this line today, and let's see if you remember the button to this. So Al just insulted a rather obese woman. The appalled woman then asked, how dare you say that to my face? Al said, I'd say that behind your back, but...
I can't remember the punchline.
I say it behind your back, but my car only has a half a tank of gas. I'm gonna just shout it out. Go ahead. Oh, you got a microphone right there.
By the way, for all the memories, you give you a lot of laughs in the 80s. I talked on the show early, and I talked about St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm from, so a lot of fans in St. Louis, hello to you as well. My question is this: all the insults, how did you prepare the actresses who were overweight or ugly and say, you know what, you're probably a ugly girl, or you're probably a stupid dumbass that can't get it?
You know, this was a true, that's a good question. I used to have when we had a show that featured that at the shoe store. And a lot of them were repeat, a lot of them were regulars.
I need shoes. No.
And so I didn't have to do it every time if they were back a few times. But the new girls, I would always sit them down and say, look, I don't really.
I like this shit, I just said.
Make them feel comfortable. And their response was always kind of sad. I mean, they would say, well, we're getting paid. I mean, this is the job. And actresses and actors want to work. So that was what it was. They just said, no, it's okay, fine.
But Ed would always.
I always tried to soften it and
Make the high road.
Yeah, I tried it because it's.
Do you guys remember when Jerry Mathers was on? He was like the guy in the
Leave It to Beaver.
in the grocery store. He was like a celebrity that they were using, and the stuff that they wrote was just horrible.
I'm offended for dumb people.
Yeah, I see your hand.
Dare you make fun of dumb
people?
people?
Here we go. I see her. The woman with the No Man t-shirt. Stand up and let's hear your question.
What's Frank Sinatra and Dare the Children?
No, good question.
Oh, hey, I got a story about that. this one night, there was a restaurant on Westwood Boulevard. You know what it is. Mateo's. Mateo's. There was a storefront, which is the one I went to for lunch. It was a book joint. They used to book cats and stuff. And then the big supper club was next door. And that was where all the old time, in those days, the old time celebrities, which were Tony Kurtz, Frank Sinatra, Shecky Green, all those great entertainers. And Frank used to go quite often there on a Saturday night. And the owner, Matty, who's from Hoboken, he used to say, you gotta come over and see Frank. He sings sometimes, upstairs. So I didn't even know they had an upstairs in that place. But anyway, one night I went there, and he was there with his wife, and Matty came over and said, he's gonna sing. Go upstairs. And I said, up there, there's a piano up there. So I went up, and I'm sitting there, and pretty soon up comes Sinatra with his wife and a couple of his buddies, and maybe 10, 11 people. That was it. And the piano player, warming up. And me. So I'm sitting by myself, because I'm alone.
Ed's always alone in a restaurant.
I'm a bit alone. So he comes up, and he has his Jack Daniels and his drink, and he starts singing. And the guy was unbelievably great, right? I mean, he really was. Unbelievable evening. And he sang from maybe 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning. He never stopped. And after every song, he would explain the arrangement, who did it, where it was when he did it, and so forth. But between songs, he kept staring at me. And it wasn't a happy look. He looked at me and he never said anything. So finally, he opened it up to requests, like we're doing with you guys. And, there was some, what would you like to hear, madam? And they would say a song. But I wasn't going to do that. I'm just getting these looks. So he waited, and any other requests, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, love and marriage, what about you?" And I said, he said, "By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to tell you, I didn't get a dime for that." He sold the rights just before we went into production. That's his song, as you guys probably know for sure.
He got no royalties.
He got no royalties, and he was actually mad about it. And I mean, I'm the guy he's looking at about it. And he said, all right, now that I got that, what, you got a request? And I said, yeah, all or nothing at all. And he said, that happened to be one of his great songs during the war. And he said, which version? And I said, I don't know which version. You got more than 2 versions, he said. I said, the one where you hit the high note at the end. And he said, look at this son of a bitch. I can't hit the high note anymore. He wants me to sing. And he sang the song, and he hit the high note.
Steve, if you don't mind if I interrupt for a moment, I have a question here.
Hi, Eddie. I'm very confused.
Hey, aren't you from New Orleans?
No, man. Look, I thought I was supposed to go to a different world with you.
There's the rest for everybody, Griff.
Hey guys, good to see you all. But now I'm going to start telling you some truth, maybe we'll add to it. And so David and I have got, our friendship is based on those rubber dolls that social affairs people. I'm sorry, David, that's how it is. And Katie, you've got to tell them that your first job was a TV series where I was your co-star.
We did the Mary show together.
Oh, the Mary Show. That's
Right.
That's
And
right.
Christina, you left out the fact that on the way to a party, to Tracy Lord's party, you tried to run me over with your car. Let it be a secret.
I don't remember that, my friend.
No, you don't.
Maybe that's why.
My attorneys will be called.
Where are you?
I'm sorry?
Well, it's not can't tell us, but yes, sir.
I'm right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, alternate it never saved me from a speeding ticket. But it got me through customs in Amsterdam in 2007. 150 people, Americans and other Europeans, I guess, or wherever they were from, were lined up, and I was at the back of the line just chilling. And the two guys on the Euro side, where they could just go through with the Euro pass, one of them goes like this. And I'm like, me? And he goes, I walked up and he goes, and give him my passport, he doesn't even look at it. He just goes, are you a celebrity? Some people say a little bit. He goes, married with children. Yeah. One real quick. I was at a high school reunion one time, and a guy comes over during the reunion, and he walks over and he says, can I talk to you a minute? I said, sure. He says, I just wanted to thank you. Put his hand out. And he says, I had cancer, and I was getting chemotherapy that hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. Then I would go home and put on Married with Children and laugh my ass off.
Something like that. There was a guy in the audience who told me one time when he was leaving, he had kind of cancer that went through his bones and metastasized. He was in bad shape. But he said that this was the only place he didn't need morphine. He had a morphine pump, a fanny pack, and he came to our show and he said, I shut it off when I'm here. He didn't miss his morphine. So, yeah, the laughter. Two more questions. Anybody over here? Hey, yes, sir. Right here. Go ahead. I'll give you the mic.
How about Jim Doherty? You guys understand how good he was. My name's Frank Lloyd. I did the stunts on the show. I played Norris, Buffalo parts. What you guys don't understand is he had to tone the audiences to groove with the actors. And another thing nobody knows, Married with Children was the most stunt-filled sitcom in the history of television. And the reason that you didn't know that was because they were so good as actors, you didn't really realize there were stunts going on. And real quick, that first Bundy taking him, Jerry Cohen comes up to me after I read it, just as fight breaks out. And, Bundy, anyway, and Jerry goes, I want it to be like 8 or 10 seconds. And I said, 8 or 10 seconds? I'm 25 years old as a stuntman. I got 15 guys here. I put together, I didn't say nothing.
We're having a fight.
And all of a sudden, it's like we do the run through. The show was a minute and a half short. My fight was a minute and a half. Jerry's standing over here. Ron looks and says, hey, Frank, how long's that fight? I said, a minute and a half, sir. And he said, is it funny? I said, the crew likes it. And he goes, okay, good. We don't need to ride. Everybody go home. And Jerry looked at me and glared at me until we saw it and we did it. And you guys understand, these actors learn 22 minutes a week of show, and it changed from the first show to an hour later in the second show. And to do a fight, I passed up jobs doubling Jeff Bridges, Nick Nolte. This was my show. 46-year career. I'm retired last
Go ahead, Christina.
Anytime you saw Ed take a guy's head into the wall, that was Ed taking that person into the wall. Brilliantly. And I appreciate you, but this fucker did it so good.
Frank Lloyd is a great martial artist in his own right, and he was one of Ron Levitt's greatest friends.
Yeah.
He would bring Gene LaBelle, the toughest man alive, around.
I just wanted to say something about Frank also. He was best friends with the man who changed all our lives, Ron Levitt, who came up with the whole deal. Frank was there always with Ron. So I just kind of want to shout out to Ron Levitt.
Yeah. Ron's the greatest. When Ron got sick, I think it was Frank that spent a lot of time with him and kind of got him through some really tough times. Yeah. Okay, yes, sir. I see you. Go ahead.
First of all, I consider Mary Children alongside Twilight Zone the greatest television of all time.
Go ahead.
Like, let's say it's the Barbie episode, and they went to go get the Barbie doll.
Wait, hang on. When we think of the Barbie dolls, yeah, take the microphone.
So, like, the Barbie doll episode, it's a live audience. How big was the set? Was like the Barbie doll scene when him and Pal and Steve are walking and the music's all rocking?
That was all done on the same stage. They just used different little.
So they watched it, everybody watched it live?
Yep.
Man, awesome. Starting rules too, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Starving, you guys all did it.
Let me just ask you, Christina, you've been going through some challenges, going through some stuff with your health. Just,
Actually, me.
I just.
Which is a disease that targets your brain and your nervous system and eventually just kind of, it sucks a dick. That's all I have to say. I'm doing okay tonight. Can I just say that? Yeah. Is kind of giving me a little bit of hope.
One thing before we go, I know we've said it's that show, the writers and our writers and two showrunners, Moye and Levitt, we could not have done any of this without them.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hello, I have the mic. Hello.
Okay, yeah, I see you.
I actually don't have a question, but I have known these four beautiful people since season 1. Hi, Katy. Hi. Hi, sis. Hey, David. This is for you. Come pick this up, will you?
Okay, thank you.
Take that home. That's for your kids.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say something. Knowing all these four people since season 1, they are four of the most wonderful human beings on this planet. They have changed. They have stayed humble and kind and sweet and beautiful. And I'm honored to know them.
I've got a question.
Almost 40 years.
Did your tongue really stick to the pole?
I'll tell you later.
If you watch the Christmas
story,
he's the one. All of ours. So, Scotty, can you go sit down now? Thank you.
All right, guys, a little last question. Yes, right here. Go ahead. You having fun? You glad you came?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for doing this. It's so historic. All of us appreciate this. I came all the way from Washington, D.C.
Nice.
Just to see this with my brother. So, two-part. Number one, I'm the chief of staff of the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And what you've done here, it's amazing that you sold this out so quickly. I would happily invite you guys to come over to the East Coast. You guys should be doing this all over the country. Katy Segal, I work with you on some Bundy. Bundy Center's that is one of the greatest things in the place. You know how to say the Kennedy Center? I agree with you. I agree with you.
Oh, dude, to get a black belt in fucking jiu-jitsu, like I did in taekwondo, you know what I mean?
But I got a VIP table for your after hours party. Everyone, go to his after hours party tonight.
Yes, we are. We're gonna have a big after hours party. After party, Viper Room.
And my question is, I'll just call you Al because you're like my dad I never had. So you did this interview one time about how Jackie Gleason was the father of all these sitcoms, but you came in and you got inspiration, I think, of your uncle. Can you tell us about how you got the role of your uncle in Running Over the Dog?
Well, I had an uncle through marriage who was a judge, and he was married to my mother's sister, who was quite a gal himself, but he had a self-deprecating sense of humor. That's what I didn't say, but that's how I got the character Val from my uncle. And like, for example, self-deprecating means he expects the worst, and he usually gets it. And the other guys, the other wonderful actors who were reading for this part of Val, were doing it more like the Jackie Gleason character. They were not thinking the way I was thinking because I was thinking about this uncle. It's like he'd come home from work, for example, he might walk into the house, and he would say, Curly, her nickname was Curly, "What's for dinner tonight, honey?" And she said, "Joe, I ran over the dog today, he's dead." Joe would say, "Well, what's for dinner?" So that was and the guys never heard that take. That's why.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But listen, before we go, I've never done this. I want to thank the fans. You guys.
Who's out there also who helped sponsor this thing. Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you.